So with the real estate market crashing and even in certain markets going down about 2% month over month, which would be an annualized 24% decline in home prices over the next year, one might wonder what exactly can we do about this and what should we do going forward if you want to buy real estate. Along with Jerome Powell over at the Federal Reserve raising interest rates to seemingly infinite amounts, to which those interest rates, and every time they go up and up, are also making the loans that we get for car loans or even home loans more and more expensive, it seems like every single month, leading to less purchasing power and not being able to afford the homes we were just able to afford just a few months prior. Along with Credit Suisse that's about to go bankrupt, that has 10x the amount of assets actually leveraged, which is kind of reminding us to around the 2006 to a 2008 era of the Lehman Brothers, which started the real estate crash back in 2008. And the reason that I'm talking about all these bad things that are happening means that it also leads to an opportunity in the not so distant future, because we know when we have these unfortunate events that it also leads to an exponential opportunity that you can possibly take advantage of. And now we're starting to see that storm brewing, and we're kind of in the eye of the hurricane of the real estate market as of right now. And a lot of people are estimating that we are going to see a peak capitulation and fear in the real estate market come 2023, and probably by mid 2023 people are going to start realizing like, wow, my house has now depreciated about 10% from what it was just a few months prior, which is going to lead to maybe possibly higher and higher selling amounts, more inventory on the market, which means home prices are going to start coming down dramatically. So again, why am I saying all this? Well, you have to be ready. If you're a person that's looking to buy a home in the near future, 2023 and beyond, just like I am, you got to be ready and you got to have the right credit score. So that's what we'll be talking about today. Let's find out how to actually take the first steps onto increasing your credit score, so this way you are a perfect buyer and you are ready to buy come 2023. So let's do it. Okay, so today we're not going to be walking and talking, we're going to be driving and talking. And some of you may know I am a licensed real estate agent in South Carolina, and currently I'm on the way to a gym, no less, to put some advertisements up just to, get my name out there a little bit more. But let's talk about the main point of this video, which is how to actually increase your credit score, so this way we can actually be a buyer in 2023 and we have no holdups whatsoever. It's the easiest thing you can do and you can get started right away. So firstly, the first thing we have to do to improve our credit score is to pay down debts, right? So we have to start changing our behavior from maybe paying a bill a little bit late or just on the date of closing. Maybe it's September 15th, October 15th, paying on the date, to start changing the behavior a little bit, to starting to pay down those debts every few days. Twice a month, 3 times a month. Even me personally, at least once a week, I'll look through and make sure there's no more debts on my credit cards. I'll make sure that my car loan is paid off, the insurance is paid off. So start getting in the habit of checking it multiple times every single month. And the good thing about this is, when you do actually check it multiple times a month, that means that the credit bureaus actually have, and I'm on autopilot by the way, the credit bureaus have more chances of actually noticing that your credit limit or your credit utilization is down to 0%, because they might view it on the 3rd, the 7th, the 15th. You have no idea. So the best thing you could do is pay off and have a zero balance as often as possible. So this way, you're more than likely to have the credit bureaus see that you have zero balance, and thus it's very good for your utilization. And of course, we don't want to have any debts whatsoever, so we have to start paying down those debts. If we have any home loans, of course, we're not going to be doing too much about that if you have $200,000-300,000 on loan. But if you have car loans, between $2 and maybe $10,000, start allocating a little bit more of your money every single month, every single week, even with your job, and start paying down those debts, because those debts are what's going to actually lower your credit score in the short and long term, and it's going to allow you to get less money approved, and you're going to have less money that you actually get pre-approved for when you go to buy a house in 2023. So the first thing is pay down your debts and make sure that you pay on time and multiple times a month, so this way you have a good boost to your credit score. Now the second thing you have to do is to, kind of what we alluded to earlier, was keeping your utilization down. So that just essentially means that the credit utilization that they use, which is about 30% of your total credit, by the way, is based on the total amount of credit that you're using based on the limit that they give you. So say we have 3 credit cards that have $3,300 limits on all of them. That means our total available credit is in fact around $10,000, $9,900, right? But if we're using about 50% of that, so around $4,400 to $4,500, whether it be for maybe home renovations or just credit card debt in general, we're not going to look that good in the credit bureau's eyes. It's showing that you need this credit more than, more than you should. In fact, if you have to use 50% of your total credit every single, month or year, and however long you've had credit for. So that's the second thing you have to do, is make sure to keep that utilization below 30%. So that same $10,000 limit, try not to use more than $3,000, and that goes into the first point of paying down your debts. So hopefully just those tips alone will actually help you increase your credit score, and in return, all that I ask is you hit that subscribe button, so this way I can increase my subscriber count going forward. Also, along with utilization, a good little tip to know that I wasn't aware of even too long ago was that you don't want to have any random, unexpected, large payments to your credit card. For example, if you all of a sudden, like I did, went to go pay your taxes on, with your credit card, so this way you could hit sign-up bonuses and get some value back. I didn't realize that if out of nowhere you never do $5,000 payments, you're always just doing $20 to $40 payments daily, that all of a sudden they're going to look at this and say, what's going on? Why does he all of a sudden need $5,000 on his credit card, right? So what's going to happen is subsequently most likely in the next few months or even the next month, your credit score will drop dramatically because it's an unexpected thing that the credit bureaus don't normally see from you. So try to mitigate that as much as possible. I understand if we have large purchases, and then of course, if it is going to hit your credit score and ding you because you had to put a high amount on there, just make sure that you have the cash to be able to pay that off in full fairly soon, and you should see that bounce back in your credit score, within the next month or, in the next few months, something like that. So just a little tip for you. And of course, any hits to our credit score is going to just lower and lower our purchasing power and our actually bargaining power for when we go to buy a house later in the future. Because with a lower and lower credit score, it just shows that you are a higher and higher risk. So this way you're going to get unfavorable loan amounts. Maybe if you're a person that has a low 600 credit score, you might be able to get an FHA loan, maybe a conventional very low 3% down loan, and you'll only be able to get maybe a 5 to 7%, depending on your market, depending on where you live. But we know those interest rates are rising dramatically in the last year. Jerome Powell, thank you so much. But yeah, so if you are going to have this lower and lower credit score, you have to expect that you're going to have a lower and lower total home purchase price. So it's good to have these credit scores up. And this is all the things that I'm personally doing, by the way, as I'm looking to actually buy and invest in certain properties in the next few months, definitely 2023 and beyond. So the third thing is actually new credit that you open. So anytime that you open a new credit card or a new loan, like a car loan, something like that, it's going to take a hit. It's going to be what's called a hard inquiry on your credit score. So every time you have this ding or this hard inquiry, a hard pull, so to speak, you're going to subsequently lower your credit score a little bit at a time, sometimes a lot of the time if you open up a lot of credit cards in a short period of time. So I would say for right now, if you really are planning to buy a home in 2023, hold off a little bit on getting some new credit cards until we actually buy a property. And this is something, like I said, I'm personally doing. When we actually go to buy properties in 2023 and beyond, we're going to open up a ton of credit cards because we have to pay for the maintenance, we have to pay for the renovations, we're going to put a ton of stuff that has to go onto these fixer-upper properties, and we're going to put that all on the new credit cards that typically have very high minimum spend requirements, like maybe the Charles Schwab Amex Platinum that has a $6,000 minimum spend requirement within the first 6 months of opening the card. We could easily hit that with renovations and easily get back about $1,000 or even $2,000 worth of value. So we're really going to maximize our credit card points. So hold off on those new cards. I know you want them, but hold off just a few months if you're going to be a homeowner in 2023. Big tip there. Number 4 actually relates to canceling credit cards. Now, as most of you know, you guys follow this channel and many other credit card channels, anytime that you cancel, one of your credit cards, you're losing all of that history that you once had with that credit card. That means all the good payments you made, the on-time payments, all of your credit utilization during that time, the limits, and just how long you've had it for years and years. Maybe you've had a card for 10 years. You cancel that, you lose all of that good history. So at this time, I would not recommend canceling any credit cards. Of course, if you have certain credit cards that are eating away at your pockets, like maybe you have 3 Amex Platinum cards for some reason, I'm not sure why you do, but if you do, and you want to start, mitigating that annual fee, you don't want to have that much responsibility, start looking into downgrading options, especially if you have an annual fee card. Start looking into downgrading to possibly the Amex Green card. They have a secret Amex Green card, sorry for the shakiness, they have a secret Amex Green Card, the original traditional. It does not actually pool together with your membership points, but you can ask for it. The annual fee is just $55 a year. So you can effectively bring your annual fee from $695 down to just $55, and you don't have to lose your total credit limits. You don't have to lose all of the on-time payments and the good payment history, and you get to still keep your credit score high in the meantime. So now, as I've actually hit my destination, let me talk about a couple of other things. Let me shift this a little bit for the sun. But one of the cool things you can do, if you do have these annual fee credit cards and you have no other choice but you have to cancel some of them, what you could possibly do is take the credit limits from those annual fee cards, like maybe you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve or the Preferred, and take those limits that you have, 5 to 10,000 maybe, and actually transfer it to some of the other cards that you have, maybe the Freedom Flex, or maybe you don't have the Preferred and you put it on there. You could actually transfer all of those limits from those annual fee cards to those other cards within the same ecosystem, Chase and Amex and whatnot. And this way you can keep your credit limits, which means your utilization is going to be down, but you don't have to keep the credit card itself to actually keep that credit limit altogether. So number 4, like I said, is don't cancel any cards for the next few months until you are actually a homeowner. Or if you have to, possibly think about downgrading options, and then the worst case scenario, take those limits, send it to some other cards, and then you could cancel those cards, and this way you kind of mitigate the downside risk to your credit score. So number 5 is the credit score algorithms like to see multiple forms of credit. So if you have a credit card, if you have a car loan, and if you have a home loan, or even sometimes student loans, they all bake into the types of available credit that you have, which essentially means that you are a responsible person, you're an adult, and you've been able to manage and handle multiple different types of debt and loans. So this way you just look like a better risk, so you're okay with all these different types. But of course, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. It's actually a very small percentage, maybe about 5 to 10% of your total credit score. But don't go out there and run and get a car loan, because your rates are going to be 5 to 6% depending on where you live, and that is way too high to get on a car loan, especially a depreciating asset like that, unless you're in a Tesla or something that does kind of appreciate, but that's beside the point, okay? You don't have to worry about that whatsoever. The only thing you have to worry about is making sure you're paying everything on time, you're debt-free, your utilization's down, so you're not using the entirety of your credit limit, from time to time. Make sure you keep that down. Don't cancel any credit cards, and if you have to, downgrade, so this way you can mitigate risk. And if you do already have car loans or home loans, that's better than nothing. So this way, if you follow these 5 tips on actually increasing your credit score, you are definitely going to be, in just the next few months, raise that credit score from even the low 600s to all the way to the mid 700s. And we know for home loans, for most conventional loans, they just want to see a credit score of 740 or higher to get the most favorable rates to you. And this way, in 2023, when you go to buy a house and you have those favorable rates, you're going to beat out buyers who have maybe larger down payments than you and have lower credit scores than you, because they weren't doing all these tips all along, and they weren't getting prepared like you are. Just remember, if you have a high credit score, you call the shots. Okay, you have the leverage, and you are going to beat out anybody that has a much, much lower credit score than you every time. And also, if you liked any of the value that you got today, or if you like this kind of drive and talk kind of scenario, let me know. I will keep doing this for sure. I had a blast doing it, actually. So if you had fun, I had fun. Hit that like and subscribe button if you did find some value from it, and I'll see you in the next one.